Good evening, this is Atmospheric Alex here with yet another tropical weather outlook and discussion, and we're going to be going ahead and talking about how both of these tropical systems you see on your screen are not really going to impact the US too badly. Imelda looks to curve safely off to sea, as well as Humberto, but we could see some impacts to Bermuda. And by the way, I'm going to be saying Bermuda a lot in this video, so to make things a little bit fun, I'm going to put a little bit of a Bermuda counter on the top right portion of the screen just to see how many times I repeat myself, because let me tell you what, they will be into some pretty big impacts later on this week. But now, before we really get into all the action of today's video, I just want to show you all what Hurricane Humberto looked like the other afternoon. On our ultra zoomed in satellite imagery here, you can see just how gorgeous that thing is with your classic stadium effect in your center right within here, with all of your gravity waves on the outer edge here emanating from your eye. A truly insane Category 5 hurricane that we saw yesterday. Now we're going to zoom in even further onto the eye, and you can see all your low-level clouds swirling right in the center of that 920 millibar eye right there. A classic Category 5 hurricane. Your stadium effect was really evident there, with your bowl shape deciphering differences between your eye wall and your eye. Absolutely classic Category 5. And here's what Humberto looks like right now. You can see it has gone through significant structural changes, but it looks to be trying to re-intensify just a little bit. It is a high-end Category 4 hurricane at the moment, but definitely could make a run for another high-end Cat 4, potentially even a low-end Cat 5, though. Really would not expect that at this time, but you could see definitely starting to get its act together just a little bit more over the past few hours. How about for Imelda, Tropical Storm Imelda that is? We've seen a little bit of organization, but nothing too impressive. We see our center of circulation located right within here when your imagery stops. Right there, I'd say, is where your center is, and your convection is starting to flare up just a little bit more on your northeast quadrant. So that is something to note. Signs of a strengthening system. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at weather-wise here with your tracks for each system. We're going to take a look at Humberto first. It is expected to do something of this number here and curve pretty far away from Bermuda there. That is what we are anticipating. And Tropical Storm Imelda here is also anticipated to curve in this general fashion as well, potentially hitting Bermuda or getting really close to the island going on, I think about 5 days from now is what it's looking like. But you could see not many impacts along South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, but deadly rip current risks are possible and high surf. Do not go out in the water, folks. That is a very bad idea when you got tropical systems like this. So now we're going to look at our hurricane model intensity guidance forecast for Humberto here. Hopefully this overlay works well. I actually have not set up a separate scene for these types of graphics. Hopefully nothing is cut out. But you can see quite a few members actually do want this to intensify tonight, and I am not surprised. We could be talking about 145 to 150 mile an hour Category 4 by tomorrow morning, possibly, according to these models. And then it will steadily begin to weaken off like this on its approach, or just to the northwest of Bermuda. It won't hit Bermuda directly, so that is some good news. How about Imelda here? Looks to get a little more intense than previously forecasted, and that's because it'll be missing the coastline. But you could see here, generally, it looks to be a mid to a high-end Category 1 that is expected, though a Category 2 would not surprise me. Could we even see a major? Well, I'm not quite sold on that yet. But again, this is going to be the one that could directly hit Bermuda and could cause really significant impacts. So you folks there on the island need to watch this closely. This is Imelda's track guidance here, and as you can see, all of these models run right over Bermuda. You cannot see it on this map. That is because it is underneath all of this spaghetti right within here. Hopefully I'm not making you all hungry, right? It's past dinner time, but still, I haven't had spaghetti in a while, and it sounds good. But you could see definitely a pretty tight consensus that something is going to happen in the general vicinity of Bermuda, and I don't really know where it's located directly from this map. Again, I can't tell. This spaghetti is getting too wild and crazy over here. So now we're going to take a look at a European ensemble model as I refresh the data. And we're going to be looking through time. This is Imelda. This is Humberto right here. You can see Humberto really does miss Bermuda, and then Imelda, I would like to note you still do have a few members that try and stall closer to the coast right here, but at the very most you would see moderate to heavy rainfall, maybe between 1 to 3 inches, but I'm starting to even doubt that is a possibility. So that is some fantastic news. You know, as someone would say, we are in a whole different ball game now in terms of this track. Well, I'll add on that Imelda will be a swing and a miss for the US coast. Thank goodness for that, right? But as we head towards Bermuda, you could see a ton of members trying to make a landfall on the island, and a ton more members showing potentially a major hurricane here on approach. We really have to watch this. You folks in Bermuda need to stay very weather aware. I cannot believe how many times this hurricane season I've had to call you guys out. It's been insane, right? And, you know, maybe this time you'll actually see something. Let's hope not. Let's go ahead and keep our fingers crossed, right? Now, I'm sure you all saw that dramatic curve at the end there, right? Well, we're going to take a look at that. As your steering pattern changes substantially, you're going to begin to notice what appears to be a bit of a curve back off to the north to northwest here. This whole bunch of models or members does kind of something like this, and that is something we're going to have to watch. We have a very intense high pressure ridge up here that has a general steering pattern like this, you know, going in a clockwise direction right here, because your low pressure spin counterclockwise because we're in the northern hemisphere. So with this track in mind, could we potentially see Imelda break away from the influence of Humberto and maybe tag on to the influence of this high pressure and steer it something like this? I don't want to make that arrow any longer because we're going to have problems if it goes in this area in particular. So we're going to have to wait and see. Again, don't freak out. This isn't a forecast, but we could potentially see a last minute curve, you know. Got this member here. Look at how close that is to, say, Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey. And even Virginia, North Carolina, you get the idea. That seems a little bit unrealistic, though. Alright, and now we're going to take a look at our European model here, our deterministic model. You can see Imelda actually struggling greatly as it moves through the Bahamas. You saw there wasn't much organization just yet, so we're going to have to wait and see how that evolves. It does get tugged out to sea by Humberto, of course, and Humberto's influence is quite large. You can see this is a very strong system, and Bermuda is getting some impacts in some shape or form. Imelda right behind, and there you go. You can see tropical storm force impacts to Bermuda as well, going on through into the 1st to the 2nd of October. I can't believe it's already October. Isn't that crazy? And that continues to move on through and just does some bizarre stuff. Things could get weird after the day 5 mark. And we're going to take a look at our wind shear here from our European model as well, because you probably are all wondering why Imelda will not blow up into a Category 4 or a Category 5 hurricane out in the open Atlantic. We've got a lot of wind shear to contend with. You can see here, as we go past the day 3 mark, stuff begins to get a little bit interesting here with Imelda. You could see a very strong belt of wind shear begins attacking it, kind of like this, but, you know, kind of wraps around it. It doesn't get quite as impacted as models first thought, so that is why, again, I wouldn't be shocked if this does become a major hurricane in the Atlantic, but you can see that there, upwards of 35 to 50 knots of wind shear. Your center of circulation is going to get severely displaced from its convection, and at that point, we're really not going to see much more strengthening, maybe a little bit more outskirts to Bermuda, but that's about it, and you can see it getting ripped to shreds right there. With this wind shear will also come a lot of dry air because we got a humongous frontal system moving through the Gulf right now off to the east. You can see all that dry air wrapping in on the southern side of Imelda here, as you can see. So this is really going to be an issue for strengthening, and we're likely going to see, a bit less thunderstorm activity than we typically would with a tropical system, and this could actually turn extra tropical. Yeah, this may not even be a tropical feature after the 5-day mark if this occurs. So we're going to have to watch out for that closely. You can see Bermuda there getting a lot of rain from this. A lot of your green colors right there indicate a lot of moisture moving on. And now what are your hurricane models showing for Humberto? You could see it moving on through here. Here's Bermuda, like I said before, and it kind of gets off the map a little bit there. If I rewind, kind of approximate it like right there. So, oh, no, it came back on the map again, my goodness. So you can see it could be getting upwards of 30 to 35 mile an hour sustained winds with gusts up to 50, so that is not a surprise there. Onto your halves B model. Again, I haven't actually looked at these at all, so this will be interesting. Bermuda is actually pretty far off the map, but right there, again, same exact thing. So 50 mile an hour wind gusts seems to be a general consensus for Bermuda. And for your H-Wharf model, we're going to go ahead and take a look for Bermuda, and goodness gracious, this actually passes it way closer to the island here. We are talking about sustained winds of 45 miles an hour on the island, with gusts upwards of 65 miles an hour. So this could cause some downed trees and power lines. So if we do see a scenario like this where it somehow tracks a little further east, well, you need to get a little more prepared. So yeah, just in case, it's a good idea to be prepared for this. Your HMOD model, what does it show? Well, I imagine, yeah, it does show it being quite a bit further east than your other models. Again, gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour possible. So if I was on Bermuda, all right, I'd expect gusts between, as of now, 45 to 60 miles an hour. That's currently what I'm thinking, especially along your coastline and in your mountainous areas as well. That is probably a safe bet. Now let's go ahead and move on to Tropical Storm Imelda. You could see it intensifying quite rapidly. I'm not sure if I buy this off of your halves A model. And then it scurries on off to the east quite rapidly. And you can see it being attached to a frontal system right here. So this is now officially an extratropical system when you begin to see it enter an environment such as this. It becomes more baroclinic than barotropic. Barotropic, the easiest way to understand this is trophic, think of tropic, right? And baroclinic, we'll just know that is frontal, so non-tropical. So this is a subtropical / extratropical hurricane at this time. So you will see it labeled in white on the National Hurricane Center. But anyways, holy cow, this brings it right into Bermuda here. Sustained winds near hurricane force on the island with gusts over 80 miles an hour possible. Well, we better hope that this scenario does not unfold, but again, you need to be prepared if you are on Bermuda, because Bermuda, you could be talking about a pretty significant blow with your next tropical system. Your halves B model here, you can see it does roughly the same as the halves A, blasts it on off to the east, and actually causes it to become a major hurricane there, or borderline major, at 114 miles an hour. So we could definitely be talking about this. And there's Bermuda right there, heads on off to the east, and oh my goodness. So again, get your plans in place just in case. You don't want to be sorry for this. For sure. And just becomes a monster. Again, a major hurricane possibly. We're going to have to watch this. And if it becomes a major hurricane, that would be the 4th one of the season. 4 out of 4. That would be a little bit spectacular, wouldn't it? Not spectacular if it impacts anybody, though. This one stays a little further south of Bermuda, but you get the idea. Bermuda, you could see some damaging winds from Imelda, so you need to be careful. Your HMOD model here is probably going to be fairly similar here. Again, going on off to the east, and wow, Oof. Bermuda getting upwards of almost 90-mile-an-hour sustained winds with gusts over 100. This is a little bit out to lunch. This is not a forecast, and I probably wouldn't trust this just yet. But just know if you're on the island, yeah, you need to get prepared because this could get quite serious. Alright, and with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community. Also, feel free to share it to friends and family on social media, and leave a comment in the section below if you enjoyed the video and if you found it quite informative as well. Bermuda, you need to be prepared not only from Humberto due to tropical storm force winds, but also due to Imelda. Again, Bermuda, you need to be prepared. Bermuda, 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 just to get that count up a little bit more, right? Alright, and you have a wonderful night, everyone. Bermuda, you need to stay weather aware because you're going to have a 1-2 punch coming for you on the island of Bermuda.